In the United States, there has never been a science program in primetime television on any of the major American networks. So it's not surprising to me that the public is very poorly served and ignorant about science. We spent several years trying to educate the Canadian public about climate, what climate change was, what the causes were, and what the options were to avoid any worsening of the situation. Very, very little interest in terms of the media. Very hard to get stories on this. And the reason is it's an ongoing process of education, and the media are very short, very immediate. They're not interested in long-term education of the public. But at one point, Catherine Fitzpatrick, one of our campaigners, said, look, let's forget about climate. What happens when you burn fossil fuels to the pollution at the ground level? And looking at the government's data, we discovered that 16,000 Canadians die every year of air pollution from burning fossil fuels. The minute we said that, instant interest from the public. Everybody is interested when it affects them or their children. Climate is a very difficult thing because it's a slow motion catastrophe, and it's much harder to get traction on that. But the minute Katrina hit, and people saw, oh my God, has this got to do with climate change? People got it. And I was just talking to a man from the States who said that the hurricanes Wilma and Katrina have had a huge impact on Americans. They're suddenly taking climate change seriously because they think they're related. I think the media have to take a very lot of responsibility for the fact that there is a notion that the issue of climate change is still controversial. So that when in Canada and on the CBC, when a program is presented on climate change, even though the vast majority of climatologists in the world are saying climate change is occurring and we've got to do something about it, there's a handful of people, most of them paid for by the fossil fuel industry, that are saying no. And yet in the name of balance then, we take this huge number of people that say it's occurring, and we'll take one representative, and then one representative from a tiny group of people that are saying no, and act as if they're the same. And so we act as if it's still a controversy. It's not. And I think the media have perpetuated this tremendously. And of course the fossil fuel industry and the auto industry and many of the polluting industries have tried to support this small group of people that are saying, no, climate change isn't happening. It's always the same. The private sector fights. The automobile industry is one I think is absolutely disgusting what they have done. They fought against catalytic converters and said the cost was too great, it wouldn't work, and they were finally forced to, and guess what? Now it cleaned up a lot of their emissions. They fought against seat belts like mad, said there's no way we're going to put them in, it's going to cost too much. For 10 years they fought against airbags. They knew from their own evidence that airbags saved lives, and yet for 10 years they fought Ralph Nader against airbags, while tens of thousands of people died because they didn't put airbags in.